Hey, what is up? My name is James. I just wanted to take a moment to thank you for listening to the first ever episode of the Eek Speak podcast. Man, the Eek Channel is just something that I have put together. It's just a real passion project of mine, just as a way to give back to the horror community, just to create something and to put something out there just related to horror movies. And me and my friends have watched a lot of scary movies together, and you know, sometimes we have good things to say about them, sometimes we have not so good things to say about them. If you're looking to stay in touch with us at all, you can follow us on Instagram at Eek Channel. That is at EEKCHANNEL. We're going to be posting stuff about the podcast, stuff about just horror movies in general. Just again, thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate you just supporting something that's new and helping new creators get something out there. Thank you so much. Happy birthday to podcast.
This is how we don't get any listeners.
All right. Well, yes, this is the first episode of our podcast. I'm not 100% sold on a name yet. So, quick thing. Well, first of all, my name is James. I am joined on my right by
Joshua.
And I am joined on my left by
Cody.
And we are a group of friends, and we, at least most of us, somewhat like scary movies. I would say some of us love scary movies. Some of us just will watch scary movies. So we've been watching scary movies together almost every Monday for, I calculated this before, it's over 2 years.
It's, I think, around 3 years.
It might be 3 years. Which is kind of crazy. So we have watched one almost every week. Obviously, we've missed, here and there. People have babies. People have family. People have holidays. Like, things happen. But we watch a scary movie almost every single Monday. And so we decided to start the podcast, just talk about it. Clearly, we've watched over 100 movies together.
Wow.
For sure. And well, some of us have seen more of them than others because people hop in at different times. But for the most part, we've seen over 100 movies together. And surely after watching over 100 good, bad, and the ugly of horror movies, we have at least learned something. If nothing else, it's what we like versus what we don't like. But maybe we know what other people like.
Maybe. I don't know. I make a lot of recommendations and people come back and say they're bad movies. But I know I'm at least better than one of our other friends who couldn't join us today, but he loves all horrible movies, so I know at least 50% more than he does.
That's perfect. All right, so I wanted to start, so just to give everybody kind of a rundown real quick, kind of the flow of the show will essentially be every week we will have one kind of smaller topic to talk about. We'll hit that real quick. We'll kind of run through it, and then we are actually going to stop the recording right at that moment, and we will right now go watch a scary movie, and then we will immediately come back to this table and tell you what we thought about that scary movie. So the reason I wanted to try it this way was for a couple different reasons. First of all, I would love just for people to be able to hear like our immediate reactions and immediate feedback. But then it's also so, if you want to try to listen to the show, but you don't want to be spoiled on a movie that you haven't seen yet, we won't have the spoilers until after the break when we actually watch the movie. So we'll have a couple spoilers for older movies tonight, but in other episodes, there won't really be any spoilers of anything that you haven't had a chance to see yet, which honestly, I'm not even saying that we are the quickest on the draw. You may have already seen the movie that we're going to watch tonight anyway. It's kind of is what it is.
This format also allows someone to know what we're going to watch, pause the show, watch the movie, and then join in on our conversation.
Absolutely. How cool is that? It's almost like you're here in real time.
Almost.
And that's awesome. I don't know if that squeaking was picked up on the recording.
Absolutely.
I live in kind of a shady neighborhood in a really old house, and sometimes if you don't lock my door, the wind just blows it open, and it's a 50-50 shot of whether it's the wind or there's someone standing there. This time, I think we're safe.
Odds are I will yell if I'm near the door because it's very scary.
And I'll be pushed to help save everyone.
All right, awesome. So our topic for today is we're going to break down our top 5 movies, our top 5 horror releases of 2018. All of these movies, I did verify a couple different times, they all were released in 2018. So I at least know that that is true and we're not pulling from different years. But this is not like we watched every single movie that came out in 2018. So there may have been something in there that we didn't watch that maybe was better. We just didn't get around to seeing it. But we watched a lot of them. We did a pretty good job. So we're going to go ahead and start with number 5. Number 5 was a movie I didn't even know existed until it popped up on Vudu. And this movie just blew me away. And it's in years to come, people probably won't even call it a horror movie.
I would completely agree.
But I fucking loved it. It was Slice, starring Chance Bennett, who is Chance the Rapper, as well as Zazie Beetz from Atlanta and Deadpool 2 fame. The music, Cody.
My man.
I did not realize this until I looked it up, but the music was done by Ludwig Göransson, who also has done the soundtrack for the show Community.
That explains a lot.
I know, right? And he's also a Childish Gambino collaborator. He's worked on, I think, all of his albums.
Yeah, so just a shameless plug. There is a phenomenal series on YouTube called, I think it's called like Behind the Music or something like that, where you can watch him create Redbone by Childish Gambino, and it really gets you into his mind frame of what mastery craftsmanship is when it comes to music. So it's I actually, now that I'm reading this, I didn't know that either. I'm shocked, but it makes so much sense. How did this movie get this guy?
Yeah,
for whatever.
And if I had a better understanding of copyright law and or a lot of money, we would license Redbone and play a bit for you right now, but that's probably not going to happen. So
Podcasts are pretty unregulated still so far.
I think the coolest thing about Slice was literally the opening credits. I know that is what hooked me. There's just this moment with this crazy animation thing that happens, and then like the music kicks in, and like boom, it's a movie. And like as we were watching it, it was like, oh my god, like this is a thing that's happening, and we all immediately at least liked it. It obviously wasn't everyone's favorite, which is why it's a top. That's why it's a number 5. But super cool movie. Josh, you have anything to add to that?
Not really. Stylistically, it was just perfect. Like it hit all the points of just appealing to the nostalgia horror, and then having recent people that some people might not know who Chance the Rapper is, and it just connects all the different ages of people that watch this movie who kind of probably watch it on a whim, and it didn't take itself too seriously. It wasn't too gory. It wasn't too campy, and it hit all the marks.
Yeah, it almost is like a hip hop infused Underworld if Underworld didn't suck. Like
it was like if they made Thriller an actual movie.
Oh,
that's a great analogy.
That's probably the best analogy.
Yeah,
you win the analogy award for today.
That was, yeah. I would say what I liked about it is I personally like my horror movies to take themselves a little more seriously. So just if you haven't seen this, just go in with the mindset that, I mean, when you watch the trailer, you're gonna that's gonna be pretty clear. But what I did like is so in another realm of my life, I love R&B and hip hop. I love that culture, and I love how they really utilize that, I think, well in a scary movie mindset, which rarely coexists. So I think Yeah, it was enjoyable.
Yeah, so just put it on the list with Leprechaun
In the Hood.
Tales from the Hood, and Slice, and you got a great like triple feature right there.
And Friday.
Yeah.
So
All right, number 4. Actually, I did double check. Josh did not see this movie. So number 4 for us is the 2018 Halloween reboot. Yeah, Cody, I'll go ahead and let you start.
yeah, gauging these movies for what they are, I really enjoyed it. This is a big spoiler though. It was very much how Star Wars Episode 7 kind of was Star Wars Episode 4. Like
Agreed.
they take all the essence of what made that movie genius. They're trying to kind of infuse that into a new generation. And, you know, for the older generation, the lovers of the original Halloween trilogy, or series, we'll really go John Carpenter's Halloween and nothing really spilling out of that attempt. I think they did a really great job of capturing that crowd, and then also introducing the character of Michael Myers and kind of what makes him spooky. That kind of, he could be anywhere, he could be everywhere, he may be nowhere. It could be just the fear of the shadows, but also he's a very real feature. I really enjoyed that. When you dive back into the original, just kind of the idea of the boogeyman. He's referred to that so much in the original Halloween, and it felt like they got back to that. But obviously, everything about this was just a complete. How do we try to get back to our roots? And so I really enjoyed it for what it was. But again, it was pretty shameless in that approach.
Yeah. It made podcasters look like real shitheads, though.
I'm not sure that reference, but I'm interested to hear why you believe so.
Oh God, you're not picking up. It's just the whole beginning where like it's the two fake NPR podcast hosts, and they're just like really shitty to Laurie Strode, and then like,
and even to him,
to Michael, to try and get a rise out of him with the mask and stuff, and then of course, they made their doom pretty early on, but we're going to try to be as spoiler free as possible with these because you don't have a chance to watch them because we're just going for it. So 3 is A Quiet Place. That is directed by and starring John Krasinski of Office fame. Also starring John's wife, Emily Blunt. Movie had awesome sound design. Josh, I think this one was one of your tops, so I'll let you kind of say your piece.
I think I probably feel connected to this just because of how much I love The Office. I was excited to see John Krasinski have such a platform to do something. And I think it wasn't entirely unique, but the way that they were able to use one of your senses and really take away from it and make you focus on something else, it let him make a more rich picture in a different way. So obviously the sound design, if you haven't seen the movie, basically, there are these monsters that detect sound, so they have to be quiet. So the way that they tell the story, they have to use a lot of visual exposition, which is sometimes very difficult. And they can focus you based on what is actually happening. And the premise isn't overly complicated. There are, in terms of a horror movie, you don't often really see the monsters that much, but similar to the boogeyman and the shadows, it's the fear of the unknown and knowing that this thing that you take for granted so much with sound, that's what keeps you alive or what doesn't. And the cinematography was really good, and for really the first directorial debut for him, I think a lot of people were very impressed, and it gave him a lot of leeway to, make more things.
Yeah. Absolutely. Super, super cool. Just another step in just kind of inclusivity, which is always awesome. There's a deaf character in the movie that plays a major role and portrayed by a deaf actress. The whole cast actually learned ASL and tried to perform it as if a family would perform it, not just as if an interpreter would perform it. There's also an interpreter on set throughout the entire filming to even just jump in at certain spots, hey, maybe you should do it more like this or whatever. So super cool. Next on the list, this movie, Insidious: The Last Key. We were talking about it a little bit beforehand, and I don't know how it made it to number 2.
Agreed.
First of all, it's not a bad movie by any means, but I feel like for us specifically, it was just our personal experience watching this movie made it one of the best Scary Movie Mondays that we've ever had. Just it was a packed house in my movie room. There were people there who are usually not there. It was a random red box draw that someone just brought along with them, and they're like, "Oh, fuck it, whatever. We'll watch Insidious." And unfortunately, one of our regulars, Alex, who is not on the show for this episode, but will be in other ones. This guy, he's usually kind of a hard to scare guy in general, and I feel like just every time there could have been a jump scare, he's not just startled, but cursing and jumping out of his seat just over and over and over again in a room full of people. And that's why Insidious made it so high on this list. So kind of what I did is I told everybody all the movies that came out in 2018 that we watched in 2018. I had everybody vote for their top 3, and then I weighted them where like your number 1 got 3 votes, your number 2 got 2 votes, your number 3 got 1 vote. And just out of happenstance, did we have enough fun with Insidious: The Last Key that it made it to fucking number 2 on the list.
Yeah, and I think just to that point, I think that's part of watching a scary movie. Like if it can deeply affect you for years to come. I'll never forget, and kind of to harken back to a movie I've already talked about, Halloween 1. I'll never forget watching that and then being terrified of my basement for the next year. I watched it with my buddy in his basement. We were in like 5th grade. Mm-hmm. I was sheltered growing up, so I was way too young to be watching that movie. I know other people not so much, but for me in my life that was like lowercase traumatic. And so I think getting back on track here, I think there is something very special about watching a movie and the experience that it kind of brings. It forever now has a nostalgia niche in your brain, and so it was good. I really have very few cents on this topic. I think it was enjoyable. It was. I mean, how many times are they going to make this movie? It's like we've seen this movie now. Like I know it's the last key. What is it? Like 19.
Fourth film in the franchise.
Okay, well,
4 movies in.
It feels like I've seen this movie so many times. But when you can make the same movie and use the same ingredients and still make it a little new, a little fresh, make people jump, it was enjoy. I mean, it was for some of the movies that we watch. And you look back and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe we sat through that. This is not one of those movies. And I know that it's the 4th of probably a not super huge budget franchise that somehow keeps putting these things out. But it's still enjoyable after 4.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the interesting things, just looking up some facts about Insidious: The Last Key, almost every film has had a different director, but they've all had the same writer throughout the series. I did not write that writer's name down, so Wikipedia does wonders for you. But so we're narrowed down to number 1. This movie, I think, kind of in a way surprised me. I feel like there was a lot of buzz about it, but not quite enough buzz that I pulled the trigger before it was available on Vudu. I didn't bother seeing it in theaters. I didn't pick up a Blu-ray. Like, I was like, yeah. Most modern horror I kind of ignore. So, but Hereditary, feature film debut by director Ari Aster. Made over $79 million on a $10 million budget. Pretty incredible for a film of this caliber. Starring Toni Collette. She's the mom in Little Miss Sunshine. She's a chick in About a Boy. She's a chick in The Sixth Sense. And just incredible acting. There's I'm not gonna spoil it, but just the most bitchin' twist that I feel like I've seen in a really long time. Just not expected. And then again with the sound design.
Oh my. If I talk too much about this movie, I will spoil something. So I'm going to try to jump in and get out. As you guys will hopefully learn as we continue to do this podcast, I am a huge fan of the unexpected. The unexpected doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be life-changing. But I'm trying to think of a movie where, like, you want the hero just to, this is not a scary movie, open range. I don't feel bad about spoiling. There's one scene where you just want kind of your hero to just take immediate action and don't let the bad guy get a chance to talk. And in open range, the dude just shoots him, and it just makes you laugh. Like, it's the complete unexpected, but you kind of want it. And there's a couple of these moments in this movie where it's just completely unexpected. Took me by surprise.
Yeah, it's that Indiana Jones scene with the sword guy, and then he just
pulls out the gun.
Exactly what it is. Exactly what it is.
Exactly. And so there's a couple of those moments where it was so unexpected, but they also, I'm sure that they put a lot of thought and effort into everything that they chose, but it didn't feel like they tried too hard.
Yeah.
It's like they knew exactly where they were going, and they didn't try to throw in other things that just didn't belong. And that's without spoiling it, that's really all I can say is they stayed true to themselves, and oh my, sound design.
So I would say Josh, your homework is going to be to watch the Halloween reboots, and then also to watch, I shouldn't call it a reboot. It's not really a reboot. Soft reboot. Is that what they're called these days?
Yeah.
Something like that.
A reimagining.
Reimagining, whatever. It's also a sequel, so I don't even know what you want to consider it, but watch that. And Josh, you got to watch Hereditary, man.
What I know of Hereditary, the marketing, I think, was the confusing part for a lot of people once they actually saw it. Because it didn't really seem like a horror movie. It seemed like this family drama.
Oh.
And I went Hereditary. Even the name sounded very safe and honestly a little lame. It sounded like Oscar bait type of movie.
Yeah.
Which, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
And I know that it's not that.
If I was a director, though, or if I was a betting man and I only had one shot, how genius is it to market this kind of drama where, like, hey, maybe we're going to go on date night to watch this movie and then get shocked into what is, it's kind of a shining of just downward spiral. There are horror elements, but there's a lot of it that is just a complete decay of what is their reality. And so, there's part of that that's genius as well.
Yeah, just from being somebody who's been kind of had my finger on the pulse of the industry for a while, like I feel like that happens with tons and tons of thrillery horror or horror that can kind of tread the line on drama. I mean, I feel like A Quiet Place is in there as well. The movie that we're going to watch tonight is kind of in there as well, where like a lot of like even hardcore horror guys would probably say that's not even a horror movie. Like, and I think that kind of tends to happen with these types of movies because they do want it to appeal to a broader audience. And usually director doesn't have a whole lot of say in how that happens. That's the distribution and all that. And I believe this was A24, I think is what it's called, which is the same people who put out Slice. So, like, they had a very diverse portfolio for 2018.
So you're telling me they're the good Lionsgate? Is that?
Yeah. I think that we can say that. All right, we're doing great on time. Today's movie is Bird Box, which like I said, some people would probably say like, oh, it's a thriller, it's not a horror. Like, I don't really know. I don't even really know a lot about this movie. I know it came out kind of over like sort of the holiday break, and a bunch of people lost their shit over it. That's all I really know.
Yeah, so I somehow missed the release. So I'm okay. Yeah. So where James and I are very different is somehow he does have a pulse on these things, and he keeps us up to date, and he keeps the ship going in the right direction. And I just kind of wait for people to give me recommendations, and I wait for things to pop on Hulu and Netflix and things like that. And so like all of a sudden I got all these articles popping up, and like, oh, there's a new movie out. So when we decided as a group to watch this, I tried to just do no research into it. Yeah. I want to have zero expectation because especially movies that are exclusive on certain platforms or movies that have low budget, sometimes if you just have zero expectation, it's actually a really good movie. But if you try to look at it through some kind of lens, all of a sudden you're disappointed about something or another. I did see a trailer for it yesterday. It was oddly in one of the playoff games, the NFL playoff games, and it just kind of came on. So I'm very intrigued as to. I feel like maybe I've already seen this movie, but we'll see.
Yeah. So for those that don't know, Bird Box is a Netflix original. Well, not necessarily original, exclusive. And I think they had a hand in producing it, but not necessarily a Netflix original movie. It was released right at the end of 2018. I think it was December 14th. It's based on a 2014 novel of the same name by Josh Mallerman.
It's a good name.
Josh. And yeah, I mean, the only thing, if I've heard anything, is just I've seen the memes of Sandra Bullock's face with blindfold a lot.
It's great.
I saw the whole debacle with the Chicago Bears kicker replaced with Sandra Bullock's blindfold. Like,
also great.
Also great. But that's about it. I've heard a lot of comparisons to A Quiet Place. But yeah, we'll see. So anything you want to say, Josh?
Not really.
Cool.
There better be some birds in it.
There better be some birds in it. To Bird Box.
To Bird Box.
All right, hey guys, it is James. During this break, I want to just take a moment to highlight just a little something that I think is awesome. So let me take a moment by saying that Eek Speak at this point is completely self-funded. This has just been a passion project of mine. We haven't gotten any kind of sponsorships or anything like that, but I think that there are so many cool products and cool companies and cool things in the horror community that I want to make sure I'm doing my best part to just highlight them and give them credit where credit is due. So on today's episode, during this break, I wanted to tell you guys about this company called Fright Rags. So Fright Rags is a really cool company that makes horror t-shirts, and they have so many awesome designs. I just actually purchased 3 of them during a winter sale, and today I just wanted to highlight one of them. This is the John Carpenter's Halloween Laurie design, and it's really, really cool. They actually put the names of all of their designs on like the fabric where the label would be, so like they all actually have like titles and names, and you can actually find them really easily. So this is one of the 3 shirts that I picked up on the winter sale. Obviously it's Halloween, it's John Carpenter's Halloween. It's a really cool image of like Michael Myers' mask, kind of like big and ghostly in the background, and like this like deep blue midnight color, and then like in the forefront in a very kind of orangey skin tone, like that blue teal design combination that marketers love so much, is Laurie Strode, Jamie Lee Curtis in all of her glory, just looking kind of frightened and terrified, and then this ghostly image of Michael behind her. It's a really cool shirt. It's my first ever Fright Rags purchase, and I'm super excited about it. I have, like I said, a couple others that have come as well that I'm really excited to talk to you guys about as well. If we ever graduate this podcast to doing video, I would love to be able to show you things like this, but until then, I hope that my descriptions are just so damn good that you're willing to take a look at Fright Rags website. So that's frightrags.com. frightwags.com. You can also catch them on all the social medias and everywhere that you would expect to see a really cool company. So one thing that I just love is just the attention to detail that Fright Rags has. Not only is the shirt like really good quality and the design looks really cool, but also like it got shipped in this cool Fright Rags bag that like had a VHS tape on it, and that was really cool. And then inside were all these goodies. There was like a little trading card and then like a sticker trading card, and they're all like horror themed from different movies. And then there is also my favorite, a sour warhead also packaged in the Fright Rags bag. And so again, that is frightrags.com. Awesome. So without further ado, we are about ready to end the break. And we're going to be coming right back at you with our thoughts on Bird Box. Okay, so for anyone who might be listening, we just finished up Bird Box.
Bird Box.
Bird Box.
So that happened. I guess let's start off with just so actually I just kind of briefed the guys for the first time ever. Just I don't really want to get too much into like a star rating or percentage or like this out of 5 or whatever out of 10. Like for us here, it's just gonna be yes or no. Just recommend, don't recommend. Like we're gonna keep it very black and white. So we'll start there. And for me, Bird Box is a no.
Josh, how do you feel about the movie? Recommendation wise,
I think if it wasn't such a popular thing to be about right now, I would say no. I think you should watch it and have your own opinion about it, because there's enough
That's fair.
stuff in culture. I think that it's a thing you kind of need to have an opinion about with actual, the experience of watching it. Apart from that, it is a hard no.
I will say, for me, there were different levels of this movie. Part of this, like, there was a moment when I thought, like, this is very Star Trek Next Gen. There's a scene very close to the end where it was completely character development based that I thought, okay, if this movie ended here, we've seen character get from point A to point B. Unfortunately, the movie went like 10 more minutes. We saw a nice little tidy wrap up. It really, the end wrap wasn't what the rest of the movie probably deserved, but maybe what the rest of the movie deserved was to be burned in an alley somewhere. It's hard. It's really hard telling. There were moments of this movie that I'm obviously, as you guys will learn, I have strong opinions. I like what I like. If I had to watch this movie again, I wouldn't. I don't regret watching it the first time. I think there are things that make it okay. Like Josh said, I live in the camp of, hey, watch it, have your own opinion. I wouldn't recommend it for a horror movie setting. That I would not recommend it for a horror movie setting.
Yeah, I think that's one of the shocking things is it felt very promising in the beginning. I was getting a lot of like 28 Days Later vibes, even a lot of like old school George Romero vibes, and let me make sure that you guys are clear here. Like, we can be as spoilerific as we want. Mm-hmm. We've given these guys plenty of opportunities to stop the podcast at this point. They can watch the movie on their own.
You know what we've watched.
You know what we've
is.
watched. And so, like, it felt like a horror movie at the beginning, and then just as it kept going, it trended into those. I don't even know what that genre is. It's kind of like almost like a modern fantasy thing. We drew some some parallels to like Book of Eli or I already forgot the other one that we talked about.
Even A Quiet Place.
Yeah, Quiet Place. Oh, even I Am Legend, like just kind of the way things tie up at the end. where it's like it's very much a can of horror light.
Yeah.
But what's weird about it is it's juxtaposed with some very stringent horror. I
Yeah.
would say at the beginning, I'd seen a lot like, oh, this isn't really a horror movie, it's a drama thriller or whatever. And then like we watch the beginning and I'm like, oh, like this is a horror movie. This chick just ramming her face into a glass window over
That's a
and
good
over.
point.
Like that's
Yeah.
super fucked up and psychological and enough gore to make you scream a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
but then like it goes on and gets less and less of a horror movie and more of just like fucking bullshit.
Yeah, so obviously there's a little anger in all of our tone. It wasn't probably what it was described to be, and I think that's like I think it'll take me 24 to 48 hours to really understand like what it was trying to be.
Sure.
So really, if you're listening to this straightforward, you just heard me talk about Hereditary, which was. It stayed true to form. It knew what it was.
Mhm.
It knew what it was trying to accomplish. And this is a primo example of a movie that didn't know what it was trying to accomplish.
Oh, absolutely.
It wanted to be this 28 Days Later.
Mhm.
It wanted to be this shock factor, I Am Legend, or even like a Cloverfield-esque.
Mhm.
And then it kind of wanted to be like halfway through, it wanted to be this like Book of Eli,
The Road.
The Road.
Mhm.
That's another good one.
Even maybe like a Stranger Things kind of feel. Just as far as like we're not going to reveal what the monster
Sure.
is,
Sure.
and then like this, it has a supernatural element. And then it finishes just and I think my biggest problem with it is it finishes in just this nice tidy package where it just
Yeah.
like I would have preferred more of a Crazies ending where it like hey
Mhm.
you're left on a cliff of like unresolved and what we got was like hey they're gonna live out the rest of their days with the kids climbing trees and like
Yeah.
being really happy. It was just I was left unfulfilled. I was a little confused on what it was trying to be. Yeah, so I don't know. That's kind of where I'm left with
Yeah.
Bird Box.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get it. I think one thing that I feel they had the opportunity for and they really missed out on was just capitalizing on the fear factor of things happening or things that are around you or things that are after you that you cannot see. Like that didn't really happen. Like we'll edit that out in post. So like I was expecting for a very long time like there to be a situation where someone is walking around out in the open with a blindfold and like
They're being instructed by someone else of what's happening, perhaps.
that's interesting. I was just thinking just think of it in your own mind for a second. Like what's the scariest thing about me covering my eyes right now? Honestly, the only thing going through my mind is I keep kind of wanting to back away from Cody because I think he's gonna slap me. Like something's going to hit you, you know? Like and so I would just imagine that whatever this force is, these creatures, I'm assuming that they are somewhat intelligent, and maybe that is a poor assumption because we don't necessarily know that for sure.
I would argue that the movie depicts that they're extremely intelligent.
Yeah. And so like
to the point of manipulation. Which
that's true because you hear the mimicked voices and things like that.
So if you are a fan of any kind of fantasy, our friend group recently has really delved deep into D&D. Like
we suck.
That's a high level.
Yeah.
That's a high level function.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, what the viewer is left with is this monster is not just basic. It's not this. It's not this root of earth monster, so to speak, but actually this is a very intellectual being
Right.
that can manipulate everything around it to be its what's the word I'm looking for? Like control, kingdom, whatever you want to say.
Yeah, so like for lack of a better word, cultist or fanatics, whatever we call these people who aren't affected by the creatures in a way that they kill themselves, but they're affected by the creatures in a way that they think that it's beautiful, and they want to expose people who are unexposed to it. So maybe that is just like a certain dysfunction in the human brain and in the human psyche, that this creature, the way that it normally attacks, manifests differently. Maybe it's just that, but like I would like to think that at some point during this creature's attack on humanity, it changed its approach, like it evolved. Like that's what I want to believe. But if I were to believe that, I would believe that's what I feel like I'm left out on, because like how fucking creepy and scary and tense would it be if you have like a character blindfolded just like walking out to get fucking water out of a well or whatever, and like these cultist fanatics whatever are completely silent,
Much scarier.
slowly creeping around them, and you're like, holy shit, what the fuck, what was that? Like, but that doesn't happen. Like the creature is always loud and abrupt and monstrous, no matter how it appears, whether it appears as itself as a creature or whether it appears as one of the fanatics or whatever. It's super loud. It's like, hey, come out here and take off your blindfold. Like, but
telling them the exact thing that they don't want to do.
Like, right. Like if it was
that
just
verse that sends the red flag.
Like it kind of made me think of almost even like Lights Out, where like whenever it's dark and you cannot see, what the fuck is happening around you. So when I have this blindfold on, what things could be presented on screen to us as the viewer to where we're like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, that maybe that character doesn't know about, and they never explore that whatsoever.
Yeah. That's a great point. Well, and honestly, for me, again, something that I'm sure we'll explore in the near future. I love the unexpected, but also I love retaining the monster kind of until the end. So I don't want to see necessarily what we're fighting until the resolve.
Yeah.
And where I was a little left unfulfilled, so to speak, is I never saw the monster. I don't know. And maybe they're hoping for a sequel. And that's kind of,
I mean, if it wants to do the Cloverfield thing, then like you don't see it, and that's fine. Or even like,
but you get a glimpse in Cloverfield,
yeah, that's
and
true.
then they come back in 10 Cloverfield Lane, where it's like I don't know, they like complete hard left,
right?
But like there's what I was expecting of this movie was a Quiet Place or a Signs, where like for most of the movie you don't know what it is. Yeah. It's the fear of the unknown. It is the fear of the boogeyman. It's all of those movies have in some way a callback to Halloween, in a sense of you don't know what it is that it is attacking you, and you don't know what the weakness is. You don't know how they present themselves, and then at the very end, you kind of have some idea. You've been able to put the puzzle together. And this left absolutely zero. Like we found out that some birds don't like it, and what does that mean? Like, and I'll get a little sidebarish here, being a history major. Like, could you have not found a different representation of what was safe? Like the canary down the coal mine. Like, I mean, come on,
pretty
like
safe.
I don't like
safe.
It's like, I guess direct 1-to-1 correlation, like maybe someone who's sitting in a theater watching it's a Netflix exclusive, so somebody sitting in their home, maybe they understand what this reference is to, but I mean,
hamster, go hamster.
better than bird. I don't know. Like
Hedgehog.
Like the way they found the bird too. Like it was just so contrived.
It's pretty convenient.
In
It's pretty
a
convenient.
grocery store. Like how many Krogers have you been into? I shop at one that is in not the greatest part of town. They don't sell live birds. Like if I end up in a grocery store,
like I said, this is California, so I
Yeah.
mean, you know,
Good
we
point.
we
Good
are in
point.
the Midwest, so who knows what the fuck is happening on the West Coast. Josh, you've been particularly quiet, and I don't think it's because you want to be. I think it's because you are stuck in a situation with two loud white people. So if you just want to chime in, you just feel free to interrupt us at any time.
Let's see. As the ethnic portion of the podcast, and looking at the future of our friend group for the foreseeable future, it wasn't good. It was a very unsatisfying ending. There was never any payoff to the monster. It literally was just nothing. Even when you see its representation, it's just leaves moving. And then the ending is extremely convenient, but not an actual ending. It doesn't resolve anything.
Right.
It gets them from one safe place to another safe place. You were not told anything new. You were not given any information. You don't know how this helped anything. They were technically safe before. They had some danger, and now they're in a different place where they're in this situation, which is seemingly much better, but still, the ever-present threat is still there if they do the same thing, if they see it.
It's a great point. I feel like that's kind of why we got the token forest scene where Sandra Bullock's yelling like the send my kids to me. I forget the exact quote, but don't
take my children.
We've gone 2 hours, which maybe arguably felt like 3 hours, and we've had no development other than some people dying, and we've moved some locations.
Yeah.
And so like we have to do something. Let's develop her character who we got maybe 3 minutes at the beginning of the scene where we found out she was very isolationist and I don't know, hermit-esque.
Yeah.
I don't know, all of this. Yeah, I feel like it started at a place where they were like, hey, A Quiet Place just did really well, and they were about deaf people. Let's go to the blind community. Is that tactless to say? I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah. There's definitely a certain part that feels like that. I would say, for me, one of the glowing moments would have been the appearance of Pruitt Taylor Vince, who is the guy Rick, who is Rick at the School for the Blind at the end of the movie. And we literally just watched not that long ago The Devil's Candy, that he also starred in, another horror movie, which, at the time of watching The Devil's Candy, I would have said it was a no, but comparing it to this movie, I definitely say it's a yes. So there's just sort of a bonus for you there. I do want to go over a couple things. So first is this has currently, obviously it's been a kind of a pop culture, social media phenomenon bomb, another big trend. I'm sure it'll be gone within the next week or two. But what do you guys think? For me, this is super disappointing as the next big thing that a lot of people are talking about.
Definitely. Yeah.
People are going to post on their social media, tell each other, oh, I saw this, isn't it great? And unfortunately, it's that thing when I hear that, I'm going to judge them for it and not trust their opinion on most things.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, if you watch the movie, you can pick up on so many things that are just that. They are telling of their times. They are indicators that that they're not going to stand very long.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's kind of a bummer, but yeah, that's just part of it. This is kind of a interesting thing that happened. So specifically in Australia, whenever Netflix Australia was originally partnering to release this movie, they partnered with 4 Twitch streamers and performing what they called the Bird Box Challenge. in which they would play popular video games while blindfolded. I didn't do enough research to find out what video games. I'm sure it's pretty much just Fortnite. However, the challenge has since turned into a global internet meme in which participants wear blindfolds and try to do day-to-day activities. So I looked some of these up. There's tons of them. It's just like Bird Box Challenge, wear a blindfold and like cook dinner, wear a blindfold and go outside and get your mail. Like just fucking ridiculous shit. And obviously people are like getting hurt. Because people are fucking retarded.
Send those into
I'm not supposed to
America's
say that.
Funniest Home Videos because I will tune in and I will laugh.
In response, Netflix has released several messages over social media advising people to not undertake the Bird Box Challenge, which that alone I think is super interesting. I mean, maybe I'm out of touch, but just in a world, the best example I can think of is where teenagers are eating Tide Pods. Like, the biggest takeaway from this movie is like, hey, if you are a normal seeing person, don't try to do shit pretending to be a visually impaired person because you're probably going to kill yourself.
I couldn't agree more. Taking all irony aside from the fact that we're trying to support this movie that we've put out and then realizing that absolutely no one can, I shouldn't say no one, very few people can empathize with.
Yeah.
Like I recently, I'm taking certain classes. I'm trying to become a teacher. I had to take a class where I had to emulate a day in the life of a person who has a hearing impairment, and like it's one of those things where like in certain situations, like certainly yes, like we can take this to a certain extreme, but like if someone has to issue a statement that like, hey, actually no one who has this sense can actually do this to a point of living. Could we certainly impose that on a post-apocalyptic era situation where everyone is trying to emulate this? Like, it just it's a great point of just like, is this Waterworld or is this something that we can actually see? Like, I don't know. That's a great point.
Yeah. Josh, I'm just gonna kick it to you for one last thing. Out of those of us at this table in this moment right now, you have had the most experience just interacting and understanding and dealing with people that are blind or visually impaired. So just anything else on that note that you would like to add?
I feel like just piggybacking off of that, like just give us a little insight to why you would have some interaction with that, some understanding of this to give some credibility to whatever you may say.
Absolutely.
So I'm a certified athletic trainer. I work in sports medicine. One of my responsibilities is I cover a Turnstone Center for Disabilities. They are one of the premier centers in the Midwest for adaptive sports and rehabilitation PT programs for hearing disabilities, just anything developmental, and it's pretty incredible. And I interact with a bunch of different types of people who have very different abilities or challenges, however you want to say it. And I think the hearing, like for example, A Quiet Place, I think the sound is a little easier for people to understand than the sight. Because I think in general it sounds really dumb, but when you close your eyes you can't see. Usually you can't turn your ears off, so it's much more jarring to your brain when sound isn't a thing, and because it not only affects how you hear things, but also how you can speak as well. It inhibits how well you're understood, and I think the idea was there. Just the vision, I think, is just tough to really communicate in a movie.
I'm really trying not to be insensitive. You said the vision.
I wanted to make no more comments in this podcast. But I feel like at this point I have to jump in.
You could say the communication envelops all the senses. You communicate with your hands with ASL.
Please
No
keep
hearing.
talking. Please keep talking.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I will bury myself and keep on digging.
All right, so coming from us, Bird Box is probably for the most part. I mean, general consensus.
I know.
No recommend, not recommended film. And I want to make it very clear. Like, none of us claim to be film experts. I would say that we are, couch armchair experts at our absolute best and just completely clueless at our absolute worst.
What I would say, take my no as a you should watch it and understand that I agree with you when you don't like it. Because I feel like it's what I can't stand is going to a source and finding out like, hey, I shouldn't watch this. Because then I'm a person that hey, don't tell me how to live my life. And so actually now I want to watch it. So if anybody hears my recommendation, please hear that, hey, you should watch it and know that it's going to be less than enjoyable. And we're on the couch together not enjoying it.
I think that is the best way to sum up how we all feel about the movie. I am gonna do just a quick moment. Sometimes whenever we do these episodes, we have more people who are here and who have watched the movie with us, but are not on the microphone. We're just trying to kind of limit how many voices are on the mics, just to make it easy for everyone to understand. But I do want to open it up to the crew who is still on the couch. Do you guys have anything that you would like to say about Bird Box?
When we got to the end of the movie and I saw that it was less than 2 hours, I was really, really surprised. I felt like we were sitting there for 2 hours and 45 minutes. It's not worth the time.
Danny felt like we were sitting there for 2 hours and 45 minutes. It is not worth the time. It felt like a long-ass movie, and so I get it. All right, this concludes the first episode of the podcast that has no name. Yeah. Hey, James again, man. Thank you guys so much for listening to the first ever Eek Speak episode. Man, we're going to be recording these every Monday whenever we have a Scary Movie Monday. Occasionally holidays, things like that might interfere, but we're going to do our best, just be as consistent as we can with this podcast. We had so much fun just making it and talking about it. It was so cool. It was just something so natural for all of us, and we hope that comes across on the recording. We hope that it's something that you find some enjoyment in as well. We hope that it's not just this total bullshit that you don't even care about. But man, just again, thank you so much for giving us a shot, for listening to the first ever episode of a podcast by a bunch of guys that have literally no idea what they're doing, and barely even really know what they're talking about. This is definitely, like I said, a passion project for me going into this new year. I just really wanted to do something to give back to the horror community. And man, the horror community are the people who watch scary movies. They're people just like you. So thank you so much again for listening. Really, really appreciate you. And hopefully we were decent enough that you'll give us another shot in our next episode. Thank you so much.